this Hui book, a very standard inorganic chemistry book, which deals with certain aspects of the spectroscopic things, etc., etc. Not to a large extent, but to a certain extent. Why I referred this Hui book? The reason is that if you see the ESR or EPR techniques, essentially or eventually you would understand after a few of my lectures that this technique actually helps us to understand the electronic structural aspects of the molecule. Now, when you talk about a molecule, either organic or inorganic, there are two types of structural aspects. One called molecular structure, where you would be getting metric parameters. Metric parameters mean bond distances, bond angles, planarity, non-planarity, all sort of things through X-ray crystallography. If you have a good single crystal, and if you get the structure of the molecule, then you will get all the necessary information about the molecular structure, which tells you how the molecule would look like, what about the metric parameters, distances, angles, planarity, deviation, molecular distortion, etc., etc. But it won't tell you the electronic structural effect. Electronic structural aspects means how the electron distributions are within a particular molecule at the valence shell. And if it is a metal complex, then the valence distribution at the metal ligand interface, and that tells you in a broader sense that electronic structural aspects, and that is sometimes very complicated. I will give certain examples. You will see it in due course. That apparently electronic structure one could think about in a very simplified fashion for most of the molecules, but not for all molecules. Particularly in our biological systems, you must have heard the name of galactose oxidase. Okay, just one example I am talking about. There are many such examples where the immediate question comes up: what is the metal oxidation state in galactose oxidase, say copper? The copper 1, copper 2, and the organic fragments around the molecule where there is any radical, and how the metal and ligand radicals are interacting, what sort of modes, etc., etc., etc. So similarly, in variety of other metalloproteins, that question comes up: the electronic distribution at the metal ligand interface. And there the EPR comes in a very, very big way to sort out the problems from the very fundamental level. And once you understand that problem, then you can extend that aspect for molecular recognition, for catalysis. And in today's context, you will see mostly metal ligand cooperativity in catalysis, which has become very popular and very important. And there the electronic structure comes into the system to play a big role. Okay, so keeping all these things in mind, we will start thinking and understanding how it goes on. Now, you have already gone through, I guess, the NMR spectroscopic aspects in organic division, as well as I think Professor Murugavel also touched upon some NMR. And there you will see NMR is a very unique technique, both from metal complexes and from organic perspectives. Why? It tells you about the structures of the molecule, the spectroscopic feature which corroborate the structure thing. Though NMR cannot help you to see the structure, unlike your crystallography, where you could see the molecular structure on the screen. But NMR won't tell you. But NMR would tell you, looking at the spectral feature, and by analyzing the spectral aspect, you could corroborate the structures what you have got through the crystallography. Or sometimes, particularly for organic molecules, if the molecule is not too big, NMR would tell you that what kind of molecule it is, what kind of conformation, etc., etc., all sort of information. But EPR will give you about that molecular aspect in that sense. It will only talk about the electronic aspect. Please try to understand the molecular aspect and electronic aspect. These two are different issues. Of course, eventually they are related to each other in a certain way, but they are not directly representing the same issue that I'm trying to address through this talk. Now, one important thing, I have already said the same, that one spectroscopic technique is not enough to understand the molecular feature. So you have to bring a lot of things together, and then you can apply one spectroscopic technique to extract certain information under the banner of that spectroscopic technique. And then you can move into the other spectroscopic technique to extract some other features. And then at the end of the day, you can collate all the data together, and that would give you much better understanding of that molecule, whatever molecule it might be. So EPR, in that sense, or for any other spectroscopic technique, first you have to get the structural information, how that molecule would look like. But in that context, your X-ray crystallography is very important, because which will tell you that this is the molecule. And then you apply different spectroscopic techniques, etc., to go in deep insight into the problems. But initially, you need to know the structure, how the structure look like, right? So crystallography would help you to understand that thing, and then you apply all the things one by one and to see how it goes on. Now, this is how I thought to segment the whole lecture. So I would address, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points. The first, it will be general aspect, which I will start today, and then we would go into hyperfine and super hyperfine coupling issues. Then we will move into the examples of organic radicals, and then the fourth one will move into the metal complexes. Then one of the important issues in EPR, that is called the G parameters and G anisotropy, etc. I'll talk about. Followed by, I would go into zero field splitting, Kramers degeneracy, non-Kramers system, etc. And then we would move into the application part. So two aspects I would be considering as a part of application. One is the electronic structural aspect, as I said, spin configuration, and then how EPR would be applicable in understanding the mixed valence feature. So this is how I would like to design the course. But if you have any suggestions, we can move on accordingly. Okay. Well, let's move into the first part. That is your general aspects. Now, as I said, that there are different kind of spectroscopic techniques, right? And which depends on what source of electromagnetic radiation you are using for the source material.